My friends, I told you so. And I enjoy saying that, right? Okay, if you've been listening to this show for any length of time, you know that I love telling people I told you so, and I told them so. Item from roll call. Threats against members of Congress continue to grow, Capitol Police Chief Stephen A. Sund said on Tuesday at his first appearance as head of the department before the House Administration Committee. Quote, "We continue to see the threat assessment cases that were opening continue to grow," Sund said. For fiscal year 2018, we had approximately 4,894 cases. So far this year, we have 2,502 cases, so we're on par to probably break last year's, unquote, and I told you so. For many years, I've been looking at our do-nothing Congress. A Congress that slanted so far left, that followed Barack Obama like a dog healing, that voted themselves raises, that had their own health insurance that we were not privy to. All these things and more. I said, folks, I hate to see it, but you wait. Because one day, the sun's going to come up, and we're going to find a member of Congress hanging from a lamppost. Well, we're not there yet, but threats against members of Congress are growing. Americans are sick and tired of a Congress that betrays us, and they do. All we want is a secure border to stop drugs coming into this country, stop illegals coming in, stop gangs coming in like MS-13, and Congress won't do it. We need a wall. Congress won't do it. You would think that in the wake of a stunning victory by Donald Trump in 2016, that these members of the swamp, and that's what they are, left and right, these members of the swamp would see the prevailing political winds and they'd say, okay, if we want to maintain our positions, we'd better go along with what the country wants. Well, I guess I'm an old-fashioned boy. That's not the way they think. They think, screw the American people. We're going to continue to do or not do what we want. And sure enough, they're not doing much of anything. Try and get Congress together. We'll talk specifically about the House for a minute. Try and get the House together to safeguard our border or do something with the illegals crossing our border, or work on infrastructure, or work on health care, or work on the VA, or any of the innumerable issues that we've got to work on. They don't have time for it. But they have time to take a vote and speak out against something the president tweeted. This is why the threats against members of Congress are increasing. And once you ratchet up the energy level on something like this, unfortunately, it just continues to go up. It never goes down. A couple of years ago, we saw some nut shooting at Republicans on a baseball field, right? Steve Scalise got shot. He still walks with a cane. We're going to see it more and more and more. Now, I hope never to see a member of Congress hanging from a lamppost, but I have a feeling of dread. It's coming. It won't be a full-blown revolution, but it'll be part of a revolution. I don't want to see violence against anybody. But if you want to turn lemons into lemonades, maybe that would light a fire under Congress. Maybe then they would go back to being servants of the people. Like I say, I would hate like hell for something like that to happen. But if Congress won't act, and if Congress members like those four stooges that you've seen on TV for the past few days actively hate America and Americans, as indeed the entire Democrat Party does, Americans are going to fight back. Americans can only be pushed so far. And so if I were the members of Congress working against the American people, I would stop and think about it. All right, point made. Item from Reuters, Dateline New York City. Support for U.S. President Donald Trump increased slightly among Republicans after he lashed out on Twitter over the weekend in a racially charged attack. Stop. Wrong. First of all, it wasn't an attack. Second of all, it had nothing to do with race. He simply made the point that if you've come here from another country and you hate America, well, go the hell back to your country, which only makes perfect sense and in no way implies that we're talking about people with brown skin. I would say exactly the same thing if someone came here from England or Sweden or any white country, any blonde-haired, blue-eyed devils out there. You come to live in America, just logic dictates that you like America and you want to be here, and you think that you're going to do well in America and you want America to succeed. How many people are coming here these days, over the past several decades, who hate America? They disfigure the American flag and hoist up the Mexican flag. Or they're coming here as part of a caravan to storm our border and they're carrying the flag of fill in the blank, Guatemala. Well, if you can't proudly hold up an American flag, then who the hell wants you? You're not going to be anything other than an irritant. So there was no attack, no matter how much the media wants you to think there was. And there was no racial component, no matter how much the media and the Democrats want you to think there was. What there was a simple statement which is completely logical. Also, I will tell you that members of Congress are the last people you want hating America. Barack Obama hates America, and you can see from his 8 years in the White House, he did very little that was good. He did almost everything he could to debilitate this country. Well, Obama still lives here because this is where his meal ticket here is. This is where simpletons continue to respect him. We don't need politicians who hate America. By the way, they're called Democrats. They despise everything about America, which is why they want to do away with capitalism. They want to do away with borders. They want free everything, which can't help but bankrupt this country. So I don't care what shade you are. If you hate America, you're invited to exit. It's Wednesday, and it's Real Truth, and I'll be right back.
Are you staring out the window, daydreaming about spring, your lush green yard and backyard barbecue? Or you know I'm going to see my breath. Don't let the April people tell you to work. Don't be that guy. Church gamers like to give me access to your sports and zero church. Visit our website at churchgamerslandcc.com. We will get your garbage to touch you. Specializing in maintenance and install of commercial and residential properties. We pride ourselves in our clean cut and approachable crew with efficiently and quickly
All right, folks, join me now as I throw gasoline on fire. The Democrats are hoping to make political hay screaming about what the president tweeted last week. As I just explained to you, it wasn't an attack and it wasn't racial. So there goes their whole gambit. Okay? The Democrats cannot and will not come to you and say, here's what we propose for the future, and it'll work. It'll have these positive results. They can't do that because their strategies don't work. It's that simple. So instead of talking facts, instead of talking policies, instead of talking results, and they have none, they just insult. You're a racist. Easiest thing in the world to call someone a racist. Go ahead and refute it. So let me throw some gasoline on this fire. Here is Donald Trump, our president, on Fox News, talking about his tweets and about the people in Congress, these four numbskulls, who hate America. It's that simple. Here we go. John Roberts of Fox News is asking a question. You see, this is the liberal tactic. This is the liberal tactic. Used to be the president would hold a press conference or an event and people would wait to speak because this was a civilized country. Now it's simply scream over the president. Now the question mark hanging over my head is why security doesn't grab this woman who's screaming and remove her. You and I know we've both seen people show up at events chaired by liberals, Democrat, and if someone stands up and starts yelling, he's dragged out. You remember "Don't Tase Me, Bro" from several years ago? So why can people go to a presidential event, a news conference, and act like animals? Remember that jackass Jim Acosta from CNN did the same thing, and the security would have been exactly justified in dragging him out. And for some reason, it's not done. Donald Trump is nicer than I am. All right, so folks, you're listening to what the president said. Where does race enter into that? Where is race? What if someone from Russia, Russians are all blonde-haired, blue-eyed. They want communism. They consider America an enemy. So if they lived here, probably they would hate America, and they also should leave. Scandinavian countries are very, very liberal, and they probably don't agree with the way we treat illegal aliens. And so they would have a grievance about America with their blonde hair and blue eyes, and they can get the hell out too. People have a right to their opinions. When you're in Congress, you should not hate America. And it just stands to reason if you're living in a country like that chick, the soccer player, what's her name? Rapinoe, Megan Rapinoe. If she doesn't feel she can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or hold her hand over her heart, then she's got to be She's got to have a skull like rock to be living here. Oh, I forgot. Here is where she's making a lot of money. So she'll stay in America to cash in, but she can't respect America. She can't show a little bit of respect. It makes no sense to live in a country that you hate. By the way, where are all the liberals screaming racist at Ilhan Omar? Have you heard any? I haven't either, and this is a political science lesson. The Democrats love to scream racist. Okay? Donald Trump walks into the office and says, "Good morning, racist." Anybody scream racist about Ilhan Omar? No. In fact, when they were pressured, the members of the House were pressured and embarrassed into creating a resolution of some sort in the wake of Ilhan Omar's umpteenth anti-Semitic remark. They didn't mention her by name. I don't even think they even mentioned anti-Semitism. They came down with some watered-down, bogus statement decrying hate. So where are the liberals and where are the Democrats screaming racist at Ilhan Omar? They don't exist, which tells you everything you need to know about Democrats and liberals. The Democrats are here just for power. They don't care about truth. They don't care about racism. And mostly they don't care about you, the American people. They want power, period.
Wrap their bows around this group of 4 people. One of them kept Amazon out of New York. Tens of thousands of jobs. Would have been a great thing. And she kept Amazon from going. Would have been a good deal. I mean, could he have made better? Maybe. But tens of thousands of jobs. And New York has not been the same since that happened. It's really hurt New York and New York City. Amazon.
And by the way, thank you, Mr. President. Who's to blame? When Ocasio-Cortez kept Amazon out of New York City, who's to blame? The answer isn't obvious. The answer is the knuckleheads who voted for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, she might have been a fine bartender, and she looks pretty cool dancing on a rooftop if you've seen that YouTube video. But she's a numbskull and an ignoramus and a liberal moron. She's the one that put forth the Green New Deal, which would be like an anchor for the United States economy. And so the simpletons in New York who voted for her, they are to blame ultimately.
Time was going to go. They were going to relocate a major section of their business in New York. She kept them out. That was a terrible thing she did. A terrible thing she did. So here's the story. Here's the story. I see them complaining. They're complaining constantly. I watched Lindsey Graham today on Fox and Friends talking about the same subject, and frankly, even stronger than what I'm saying. He said they're communists. I'm saying that they're socialists, definitely. As to whether or not they're communists, I would think they might be, but this isn't what our country is about. Nevertheless, they're free to leave if they want. And if they want to leave, that's fine. And if they want to stay, that's fine. But the people have to know. And politicians can't be afraid to take them on. A politician that hears somebody, we're at war with Al-Qaeda, and see somebody talking about how great Al-Qaeda is, pick out her statement. That was Omar. How great Al-Qaeda is. When you hear that, and we're losing great soldiers to Al-Qaeda, when you see the World Trade Center gets knocked down, and you see the statements made about the World Trade Center.
So let me go back in time a little bit, because you know I'm an old geezer. Remember Hanoi Jane? Jane Fonda, liberal pinhead. Back in the 60s, the Vietnam War was going on, and think whatever you like about America's involvement in Vietnam, we were involved. And we were fighting against the North Vietnamese. So liberal pinhead Jane Fonda goes to North Vietnam, poses with the soldiers there, puts on the helmet, poses. She's there to support the people who were killing Americans. How is that different from Ilhan Omar giving support to the terrorists of Al-Qaeda? It's the same phenomenon. And I would invite Jane Fonda. If she wants to come on my show and talk to me about it, she can. If she wants to drag her sorry ass out of this country after all these decades, she can do that too. You don't side with the enemies of your people. I assume that Jane Fonda and Ilhan Omar don't consider Americans to be their people. Well, that's unfortunate. You would think they'd want to live among their people, whoever they may be. But members of Congress extolling the virtues of terrorists? Downplaying the 9/11 attacks? Are you kidding me? No, the people of the United States will not stand for it. There will be a minority of people, they're called liberals, who will support it. And how much better a country would this be if they also found another place to hang their hats? Item from Reuters, Dateline, New Delhi, India. India will identify and deport illegal immigrants from across the country, the Interior Minister said on Wednesday, stepping up a campaign the critics say could stoke religious tension and further alienate minority Muslims. Stop it! Stop. Look, as host of the show, reading the day's news, I'm used to my intelligence being insulted, believe me. Also as someone who's been married twice, but that's a whole other thing. Why is India smarter than America? Yesterday we talked about Austria closing mosques. Why is Austria smarter than we are? How many mosques are we closing? This business, Reuters, I've seen Reuters tilt left too many times. If India is deporting illegal immigrants, it's completely within the law, it's their right, and only a fool, or a liberal, assuming they're two different things, would say they're stoking religious tension. Wrong! It's the Muslims who stoke religious tension everywhere they go. Which is why you're seeing Austria having to get tough with them. And the problems they're causing in France, and in England, and in Sweden, the new rape capital of Europe, and in America, and wherever they go. It's the Muslims who are stoking tension. And don't worry about alienating a Muslim minority. They're already alienated. They come to a country hating it. They never assimilate. Instead, they want to conquer it. They're infiltrating it to conquer it. That's the ugly truth. So this PC crap in the first paragraph, mind you, of a Reuters story is theater of the absurd. Muslims go killing people. The victims object, and now the victims are causing the murder because they're ticking off the Muslims. Maybe in a Lewis Carroll story, maybe down the rabbit hole. Not on Earth. It's not how the planet works. Seems to me there are a lot of people around the world who need to be invited to go home. And as long as they're not, innocent people will die. We'll be back. And by the way, my friends, as long as we're on the subject, here's this from Reuters. Support for U.S. President Donald Trump increased slightly among Republicans after he lashed out on Twitter over the weekend in a racially charged attack. There's that phrase again, racially charged. It's not. The national survey, conducted on Monday and Tuesday after Trump told lawmakers they, quote, should go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came, unquote, showed his net approval among members of his Republican Party rose by 5 percentage points to 72%. So Americans get it. Intelligent, mature Americans get it. What Trump is saying is absolutely right on, and shame on the media, and shame on liberals for not recognizing that fact. Here are Wayne Allen Root, former guest on this show, Bill O'Reilly on Newsmax TV, talking about Trump's Twitter meanderings. Here we go.
All right, Wayne Allen Root with the great Bill O'Reilly. We have him on Mondays and Wednesdays right here on the Wayne Allen Root Show. Bill, how are you? Welcome back. Hope you had a great weekend.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate it. I don't remember the weekend, but I think it was good.
One of these weekends, I'm going to press you. You got to remember something. Let's talk about Trump's weekend, because Trump's weekend was eventful, right? He's out tweeting again, and he tweets something. And my question to you is, how damaging was it? It was Trump against AOC and her team that's been attacking Nancy Pelosi. You should have left him alone, right? It was Democrats attacking each other. Now he's turned it into them all united attacking him. And he said they should get the hell out of the country if they don't like it. I don't really mind that sentiment, but do you think they actually hate America? And do you think he damaged himself with the tweets?
It's a calculation he's making. Newt Gingrich said this morning that Trump understands the blowback that he's going to get by criticizing these 4 congresswomen. But he believes that most Americans despise the far left. And he wants to create a him versus them scenario, which he believes will help him in the election. So that's why he's doing this. Plus, Trump is Trump, as you'll find out in my upcoming book, The United States of Trump. He gets bored, and he has to throw hand grenades to liven things up. That's just who he is and what he does.
Bill, allow me to correct you. When the president says something like this, it's not to liven things up, and it's not a political calculation. He is a proud, patriotic American who hates to see this country ripped apart, torn down, insulted, and stepped on, not just by liberals, who do that anyway, but by members of Congress. He's defending the United States of America and all Americans. That's why he did it.
He doesn't really care a lot about unintended consequences. Well, maybe that's foolish. Certainly the president is another reason to blame the racist. But the bigger picture is now, and you can see this if you read the Hollywood Reporter today. The Hollywood far left is now basically saying if you vote for Trump, you're a racist. That's going to be the new far left message. You vote for him, you support him, you stick up for him, you defend him in any way, you're a racist.
Of course, the truth is, those who vote for and support idiots like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, who are openly anti-Semitic and openly don't like America and don't like white people, you're the racist if you vote for them. I mean, you're a real racist.
That's what's coming out of all this. The voters that he can persuade despise what's going on with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And there's another factor. He wants to put Nancy Pelosi and the mainstream Democrats like Biden in that corner. He wants them to defend Ocasio-Cortez and Omar or whatever. He wants them to start defending the far left. So he just did. They were saying a lot of races and stuff floating around. Morgan Freeman, I was surprised to see him not today called Trump a racist. I noticed a little bit of a shift there just from Freeman.
Wait a minute, Morgan Freeman is a liberal. How can you respect his intellect? And he's a Hollywood liberal. You know, I've said it many times before, there is no IQ requirement to be an actor in Hollywood. It doesn't surprise me that Morgan Freeman or any of the blockheads in Hollywood, the liberal nitwits, call Trump a racist. It's what they enjoy doing. They enjoy sitting poolside in Malibu. They enjoy putting white powder up their noses. And they enjoy calling Trump a racist. It's become a leisure time activity. So I'm not surprised in the least by Morgan Freeman. Good actor, not very smart.
I didn't like that. I don't think you should do that. But it's coming. That whole racist thing is coming.
Let's hear what you think, because I mean, I only know Trump from opening speeches for him. I spoke to him each time for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't know the man. You know him a little bit, at least as a friend. So my question to you is Trump a racist? What do you personally believe, Bill O'Reilly?
Well, all I can tell you is what I am writing in the book.
Well, here's the power of the media. This whole question, is Trump a racist? Remember, it was asked back when he was just running for office, and you had scores of people who've known him for years, who work at close quarters with him, who are friends of his, come out and say, no, it's ridiculous. There's not a racist bone in his body. But that's not good enough. The media papers over that, and they make you forget it because they don't report it, and they just scream racist repeatedly. And so the people who've known him best for the longest amount of time, they don't count anymore. It's like they never said it. That's how the media fools us. Or maybe they fool a lot of people. They ain't fooling me.
Well, then I take all the accusations against Trump by the media that hates him on the racist front. And then I dissect them. To the birther stuff against Obama, Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, excuse me. We're about to hit the commercial break. That birther stuff. The birther stuff. People claim that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. I'm pretty sure he was. His own brother said he was. You think his brother might know? Yeah, I think so too. Don't disparage birthers. They are truth seekers. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to Real Truth. By the way, Real Truth, Stay Angry, available at virtualbookworm.com, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com. Fantastic read, fascinating stuff, more important than ever, more relevant than ever. I heartily recommend that you get it. Now, you'll forgive me, I'm going to talk to the Democrats out there in the listening audience. By and large, and of course there are exceptions, but by and large, Democrats are people who don't take personal responsibility. They want to be told what to think and feel. Well, it's unfortunate that there are people who live their lives that way, but they do. So I think we need a little bit of important, intelligent talk about personal responsibility. Okay? Here is Jordan Peterson, psychology professor, best-selling author, being interviewed in Australia about people taking personal responsibility for their lives. If you're out there listening and you're Democrats, cinch up a little bit closer to the radio. You might want to take notes.
Dr. Peterson, good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Folks, listen to this next part from the interviewer because it is pure liberalism. Assuming this video will continue to work. But she's about to say something like, look, if people have hard lives, why should they take personal responsibility? Which is about as stupid a thing as you can say during an interview, and I've interviewed thousands of people. I see the video is not going to cooperate with me. That's okay. No matter. I can tell you what she was going to say. She was going to say, look, there are people who are dealt a bad hand in life. And so why should they take personal responsibility? And Jordan Peterson is going to knock her lights out, verbally, of course, by pointing out that it's all the more important for those people to take personal responsibility. And when you shirk personal responsibility, you end up in a life of which you are out of control. And that doesn't help anybody. Okay, let me see if I can reconfigure this video because it has done what videos usually do here on Real Truth, which is malfunction. Here we go. Let's go. I am just about there. Just about there. Here we go. Okay, lady, go.
Ask for a place in the country. You know, I have
All right, lady, the deck being stacked against you has nothing whatsoever to do with personal responsibility. Here's an insight that I've garnered over these 61 years. The deck is stacked against almost everybody. Yes, you may be the child of a millionaire and completely healthy, but that's 0.00001% of the population. The deck is stacked against all of us. Life is hard. People aren't fair. What on earth does that have to do with people being grown up and taking personal responsibility? She seems to think that you get a get out of responsibility free card if everything isn't just hunky-dory in your life. Here's Professor Peterson answering her.
Well, I think the deck is there.
Ah. But you see, these days, what liberals will tell you is, if you're at a disadvantage, let's say you're a minority, or let's say you don't have a lot of money, well, then just let the government take care of you. The government will pat you on top of the head and say, nice boy or nice girl, it'll be okay. Here, have some free stuff. My friends, the countries that do act like that are not doing well. They're broke. Their society is in shambles. The people are dispirited. They're not doing their best because people don't want, ultimately, people don't want to be taken care of by the nanny state. People like to have a little pride in themselves, and liberals would snatch that away.
It's not like it's fair. I don't
Well, that's easy, because I'm interrupting because we're about to hit a commercial break. Read 1984 by George Orwell. They live in a society where no one is allowed to disagree with anything. It's called thought crime. You're not allowed to have a divergent opinion. You're not allowed to have any individuality. You better do what the government tells you. You better be PC. It's happened here. It's happened already in Europe. It's happening here right now. And a society crumbles. Can't maintain that. People want to be free to have opinions, to think. And when you try and stifle that, only bad things will happen. I wish that Europe would learn that lesson because they don't have anything even comparable to what we know as free speech. We'll come back from the break, 4 more minutes, and we're done. Go nowhere.
Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their job and pays little to no tax, ask yourself, what do you really want in a realtor? You need a realtor who's honest and has integrity. A realtor is focused on the client's bottom line. That's the realtor's bottom line. It provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to top or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit ColoradoProperties.online. Let me do a great job for you.
Item from the Washington Examiner, Dateline, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Border Patrol highway checkpoints in the southern New Mexico region that normally sees 7 figures worth of drugs annually have not seized a dollar in nearly 4 months after being shuttered in late March, allowing drugs to flood into the country. Meantime, with the added supply, prices for illicit drugs are dropping precipitously. Those 7 checkpoints have sat unattended after Border Patrol closed them to move all personnel to the border to assist with apprehending, processing, and caring for the high number of migrant families arriving. Unquote. So the Border Patrol agents are involved. They're busy. Their time is being taken up by wiping the noses, basically, of the people who've come into our country illegally, on whom we spend billions of dollars every year. If we simply didn't permit them into the country, we wouldn't have to deal with them. We wouldn't have to wipe their noses or provide food or lodging or medical supplies or anything like that. So why are we doing it? Just tell them to turn around and walk. Item from HeraldMailMedia.com. MS-13 gang members in Los Angeles hacked to death 7 people in the last 2 years, including a rival gang member who is dismembered and had his heart cut out by 6 MS-13 soldiers in the Angeles National Forest for defacing the gang's graffiti. Unquote. One guess, my friends, how members of the MS-13 gang get into this country. No, it's not on a Perillo tour. Item from Reuters, Dateline, Mexico City. The murder of 3 transgender women in Honduras this month has raised fears that a push for LGBT plus rights in the country has prompted a backlash. Bessie Ferreira, a 40-year-old LGBT plus rights activist, was gunned down by unknown assailants early on July 8th in the capital of Tegucigalpa. Santi Caraval, a trans TV show host, was shot on July 5th and died a day later in the northern city of Puerto Cortez, and a 3rd trans woman was killed in the city of El Negrito on July 3rd, local media reported. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people encounter persistent abuse and harassment in Honduras, where gay marriage is illegal and gangs rule lawless city neighborhoods, unquote. Folks, knowing that this is happening, do you think lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people are going to go to Honduras? No. And if they were in Honduras, what's the very, very best, most compassionate advice you could give them? Leave the country and go someplace else. This brings us full circle to the beginning of the show. If you don't like what's happening in the country you're residing in, go elsewhere. People have the freedom to travel around the world. And if they're doing terrible things to gays and lesbians and transgenders in Honduras, well, I would personally suggest people get the hell out of Honduras. I'm not sure why decent people will want to live in a hellhole like that anyway. Nothing racist about it. In fact, it's compassionate. If people are too stupid to get out of the rain, then it's a compassionate thing to tell them to get out of the rain, right? Right. All right, well, I don't know what to tell you, my friends. What's up, what used to be up is now down. What was down is now up. We are a backward society and a self-destructive society and a deluded society if we think these problems are just going to right themselves. They won't. It's up to people like me and you to make things right in this country. As one person once coined the phrase, we have to make America great again. Good news is we can. We just have to vote smarter. All right, end of lecture. I'll be back tomorrow, with more real truth. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, stay informed if you're voting, and stay angry. Hasta luego.